Hey everyone, glad you're here. My name is Todd. The name of my channel is Outlaw Boost Technologies. The reason I call it that is because I'm originally from the Upper Peninsula. There's a lot of moose there. I've adopted it as my mascot, and so a lot of things that I get involved with, I end up throwing that out there. I've been in the software industry for over 20 years. I've done everything from being an engineer to an engineering manager. What I want to bring to this channel, I would say, is two things. I want to bring professional type tutorials and thoughts, and I would like to have the community be such that we can share those details back and forth. I want to have some training materials here, which is really how I'm starting. But I want to talk more about technology and pop culture as well. And by that, I'm talking about technology in movies, technology in our daily lives. You know, you look at all the smart technology that's out there now, and man, it's really convenient, but sometimes is it the best thing, especially when you start integrating AI with it. AI is a pretty cool thing, but is that really the best thing as we continue to move forward? And there's good things about it and there's bad things about it. And I would like to have that discussion with a lot of people and get everyone's perspective with it. So if you have thoughts on that now, please, comment on it. Give me thoughts about what you would like me to talk about, and let's proceed with that. So while you're here, please like this video, subscribe. I look forward to working with you, and thank you for being in our community. Today we're going to talk about Introduction to Scrum Events. This is part of my ongoing series on basically an introduction to Scrum. One of the things I want to mention as I put this together, I looked at the core principles of Scrum and I documented those, for the events, for the roles, and so on and so forth. And when I put the materials together for this course, that's really what I used. In my job, there was some variations that we did, which is perfectly fine with Scrum. Everyone's use case might be a little bit different. On the job that I did most of the work in Scrum, we had legacy systems and we had new development. The principles can be applied to both, but when you're talking about legacy systems, it doesn't. There's sometimes you end up changing things a little bit to make it work. But I would say that we followed the Scrum concept probably, I'll say 95 to 96% of what we're supposed to do. But with legacy systems, you have to change it up a little bit. So anyone that has experience in Scrum or maybe have questions about how we changed it, please comment on this and give me your thoughts on that. But the materials that I put together on this wasn't based on how we ended up having to tweak it for legacy. It was really about the core concepts of Scrum. So let's get started. And today we're talking about Introduction to Scrum Events. In this slide, we're going to cover one of the core elements of Scrum, the Scrum events. These events are what keep the team aligned, ensure work is progressing as planned, and help the team continuously improve. So, let's dive into the overview of the Scrum events, which include sprint planning, the daily Scrum, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. First up, sprint planning. Sprint planning happens at the beginning of each sprint, and this is where the team defines what work they're going to take up for the upcoming sprint. The product owner presents the prioritized product backlog. The team collaborates to decide which items they can realistically complete during their sprint. During this event, the team sets the sprint goal, which is a clear objective for what they want to achieve. This event ensures that everyone on the team is on the same page, knows exactly what they're going to work towards. Sprint planning encourages collaboration and helps the team focus on delivering value. Next, we have the daily scrum, or sometimes called the stand-up. The daily scrum happens every day, and it's a quick 15-minute meeting where the team checks in with each other. Each team member answers 3 simple questions. What did I do yesterday? What will I do today? And are there any impediments in my way? This event helps maintain transparency by allowing the team to stay up to date on each other's progress, spot potential blockers, and quickly adjust plans if needed. It's all about keeping the team aligned and ensuring that everyone is making progress towards the sprint goal. Once the sprint is over, it's time for the sprint review. During the sprint review, the team presents the increment they've built during the sprint to stakeholders. This is the time to gather feedback and see if the product increment meets the customer expectations. The team shows what has been completed and discusses any changes or updates that might be needed for the next sprint. This event promotes collaboration with stakeholders and helps ensure that the team is delivering value continuously. Finally, there's the sprint retrospective. This is one of my favorite Scrum events because it's all about continuous improvement. In the retrospective, the team reflects on how the sprint went, not just what was delivered, but how they worked as a team. The Scrum team looks at what went well and what didn't, and what they can improve going forward. The goal is to identify actionable steps to make this next sprint better than the last. It's a chance to learn from the past experience and make adjustments to improve the team's performance and collaboration. So, to summarize, sprint planning. The team sets the sprint goal and decides what to work on. The daily scrum or stand-up. A short daily check-in to maintain transparency and alignment. The sprint review. The team presents their completed work and gathers feedback from stakeholders. The sprint retrospective. The team reflects on their process and looks for ways to improve. Each of these events is designed to maintain transparency, encourage collaboration, and promote continuous improvement. They provide the structure that allows the Scrum team to deliver value consistently while also learning and improving with each sprint. Next, we'll take a look at sprint planning and explore how teams can effectively plan their sprints. In this slide, we're going to focus on one of the most important events in Scrum, sprint planning. This is the event that kicks off every sprint and is critical for setting up the team for success over the next few weeks. The purpose of sprint planning is simple: to define what the team can accomplish during the upcoming sprint and how they will achieve it. By the end of sprint planning meeting, the team should have a sprint goal, a clear objective for what they want to deliver, and a plan for how they will get there. Let's break this down step by step. Set a sprint goal. The sprint goal is your team's North Star for the sprint. It's the overarching objective that guides all the work you do. The product owner presents the top priority items from the product backlog, and together with the sprint team, they decide what's feasible to complete within the sprint. The sprint goal should be both achievable and valuable to the customer, so it's important to collaborate closely with the product owner to ensure you're focused on the right things. Plan the work. Once the sprint goal is set, the team works together to break down the selected product backlog items into smaller tasks. These tasks form the sprint backlog, the to-do list for the sprint. The team decides how they will accomplish the goal, distributing tasks among team members and estimating the effort required. The developers are empowered to determine how much work they can commit to, ensuring that the sprint is both challenging and achievable. Now let's talk about the best practices for sprint planning to help your team make the most of this event. Time box the meeting. A key aspect to sprint planning is ensuring the meeting doesn't go on forever. Scrum recommends time boxing the sprint planning session to 2 hours per week of sprint duration. So, for example, if your sprint is 2 weeks long, the sprint planning meeting should last no more than 4 hours. This keeps the team focused and ensures the planning session is efficient. Collaborate closely with the product owner. The product owner plays a critical role in sprint planning by helping the team prioritize work. They bring their understanding of the customer needs and business goals to the table, ensuring the team is always working on the most valuable items. During the meeting, it's essential for the product owner to explain why certain items are prioritized and to provide clarity on what the customer or stakeholder expects. This collaboration is what drives a successful sprint. Sprint planning is the event where the team commits to delivering value within this set time frame. But remember, Scrum is flexible, so even though you're planning up front, the team is still able to adjust if needed throughout the sprint. The key is to come out of the meeting with a clear plan that the whole team is aligned on. So to sum up, the purpose of sprint planning is to define what the team will accomplish in the sprint and how they will do it. The team needs to set up the sprint goal that provides a clear duration and customer priorities. Make sure to time box the meeting and collaborate closely with the product owner to prioritize the work effectively. In our next slide, we'll take a closer look at the daily scrum or stand-up. In this slide, we're talking about a crucial event that happens every single day, the daily scrum or stand-up. This event is key to keeping the team aligned and on track throughout the sprint, and it takes only 15 minutes. So let's dive in. The purpose of the daily scrum is simple: to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the plan as needed. Every day, the daily scrum gathers to quickly assess where they stand and to make sure everyone is aligned on what needs to happen next. It's a short meeting, but it packs a punch in terms of keeping the team moving forward. Here's how the daily scrum works. The meeting is time boxed to be 15 minutes, and this ensures it stays focused and efficient. Each team member shares 3 key updates. 1. What they did yesterday to contribute to the sprint goal. 2. What they plan to do today to keep things moving forward. 3. Any blockers or obstacles that are standing in their way. These 3 updates help the team stay aligned, spot any issues easily, and make quick adjustments to their plan if necessary. The goal is to make sure the team is constantly inspecting their progress and adapting their approach as they learn more throughout the scrum. Now let's talk about some best practices of running an efficiently daily scrum. Stand up to keep the meeting short and focused. The daily scrum is often referred to as a stand-up because team members typically stand during the meeting. Why? Standing up helps keep the meeting short and to the point. It's a subtle way to encourage the team to avoid going off on tangents or getting too deep into a problem solving. Remember, the daily scrum is not a problem-solving meeting. It's about sharing updates and identifying blockers. If more detailed conversations is needed, they can happen after the meeting. Focus on progress toward the sprint goal. The key here is that the daily scrum is not just a status update for the sake of updating. It's about progress towards the sprint goal. Each team member's update should be framed in the context of how it helps move the team closer to achieving the goal. By keeping this focus, the team can make sure they're always working on the most valuable tasks and can quickly adapt if things aren't going according to plan. Identify blockers early. One of the biggest benefits of the daily scrum is that it gives the team a chance to spot any blockers early. If someone is facing an issue that's slowing them down, the team can address it right away. The Scrum Master in particular plays a key role in helping to remove those blockers so the team can keep moving forward. So to summarize, The purpose of the daily scrum is to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the plan if needed. The meeting is time boxed to 15 minutes to keep it efficient. Each team member shares what they did yesterday, what they plan to do today, and any blockers they're facing. A best practice: stand up during the meeting to keep it short and focused. In our next slide, we'll be discussing what the sprint review is. In this slide, we're diving into an important event that happens at the end of each sprint, the sprint review. The purpose of the sprint review is to inspect the product increment that was built during the sprint and gather feedback from stakeholders. This is the team's chance to demonstrate the work they've completed and see how it aligns with the customer and business expectations. More importantly, it's an opportunity for stakeholders to provide feedback, which helps the team adjust their direction as needed. So, what does a sprint review look like in practice? The team begins by demonstrating the work they completed during the sprint. This means showing stakeholders the actual product increment. Whether it's a new feature, a bug fix, or an enhancement, the focus here is on showing the working software. The product owner typically helps explain what was delivered and how it contributes to the product roadmap or the business objectives. After the demonstration, the real magic happens: gathering feedback from stakeholders. This is one of the most important parts of the sprint review. Stakeholders such as customers, executives, or business owners are encouraged to provide their thoughts, ask questions, and suggest any adjustments. Their feedback helps guide the team's next steps, ensuring that the product is evolving in the right direction. Now let's talk about the best practices for running a successful sprint review. Encouraging stakeholder participation. The sprint review is not just a show and tell. It's a collaborative meeting where the feedback is key. Make sure stakeholders are actively engaged. Ask open-ended questions like, how does this meet your expectations? Or, is this feature solving the problem you had in mind? This engagement ensures that the product is constantly being shaped by real-world input, which is vital for delivering value. Focus on the product value. While it's great to showcase everything the team has completed, the focus should always be on value being delivered. How does the work completed in this sprint move the product closer to meeting the customer needs or business goals? As you present each piece of the increment, tie it back to the value it provides. This ensures that everyone, team members and stakeholders, understands how the work contributes to the bigger picture. Keep the meeting collaborative and conversational. The sprint review isn't just for the Scrum team to present and to the stakeholders to observe. It's meant to be a two-way conversation. Invite stakeholders to provide insights, raise concerns, or share new ideas. Their feedback can inform future sprints, and the more collaborative the review, the better the product will evolve. So to sum up, the purpose of the sprint review is to inspect the product increment and gather feedback from stakeholders. The Scrum team demonstrates the work completed during the sprint, showing how it contributes to the overall product. Best practices: encourage stakeholder participation and focus on the product value rather than just checking off completed tasks. In the next slide, we'll explore how the sprint retrospective helps the team continuously improve their process in collaboration. In this slide, we're diving into one of the most important events in Scrum, the sprint retrospective. The purpose of the sprint retrospective is to reflect on the team's process and identify improvements. This event happens at the end of each sprint, right after the sprint review, and it's the team's chance to look back at how they worked together during the sprint. Not just what they built, but how they built it. The goal is to find ways to improve and continuously get better as a team. Here's how the sprint retrospective typically works. 1. The sprint starts by discussing what went well during the sprint. It's important to acknowledge the things that worked well so that they can be carried forward into the next sprint. Whether it was great communication, smooth collaboration, or successful problem solving, identifying strengths is the key to reinforcing positive behavior. 2. Next, the team talk about what didn't go well. This could be anything that slowed them down, caused frustration, or impacted their ability to meet the sprint goal. It's important that everyone feels comfortable sharing their thoughts openly without fear of judgment. The Scrum Master plays a crucial role here in creating a safe space where the team can be honest and transparent. Finally, the team identifies how they can improve. The goal here is to come up with actionable improvements that the team can try in the next sprint. It's not about pointing fingers or dwelling on what went wrong. It's about finding solutions and experimenting with new ways of working. Whether it's tweaking communication practices, refining the daily scrum, or improving how work is estimated, the focus should always be on improvement. Now, let's take a look at best practices for running an effective sprint retrospective. 1. Be open and transparent. A retrospective is only valuable if the team is willing to be honest about what's working and what's not. Encourage team members to share their thoughts openly and make sure everyone understands that this is a blame-free environment. The goal is to reflect on the process, not to criticize individuals. The Scrum Master should foster an atmosphere of trust and support so that everyone feels safe contributing to the discussion. 2. Focus on actionable improvements. It's not enough to identify what went wrong. You need to come up with concrete, actionable steps to address those issues. At the end of the retrospective, the team should leave with a few specific improvements they want to try in the next sprint. These could be small tweaks or larger changes, but the key is to make sure they're actionable and realistic. Avoid vague goals like communicate better, and focus on specific actions like schedule more frequent check-ins with the product owner. 3. Keep the conversation balanced. While it's important to discuss what didn't go well, don't forget to highlight the positives. Celebrate the team wins and acknowledge strengths is just important as identifying areas of improvement. This balance keeps the retrospective constructive and ensures the team feels motivated going into the next sprint. So to sum up, the purpose of the sprint retrospective is to reflect on the team's process and identify areas for improvement. A team discusses what went well and what didn't, and how they can improve for the next sprint. Best practices. Be open and transparent. Focus on actionable improvements and keep the conversation balanced. In our next slide, we will discuss time boxing, transparency, and continuous improvement. In this slide, we're going to dive into 3 key concepts that are central to how Scrum teams operate: time boxing, transparency, and continuous improvement. First up, let's talk about time boxing. In Scrum, every event has a time limit. The purpose of time boxing is to ensure that events like sprint planning, the daily Scrum, and sprint retrospective stay focused and efficient. When we set a strict time limit, we help the team to stay on track and avoid getting stuck in lengthy discussions that don't add value. For example, sprint planning is typically time boxed to 2 hours per week of sprint duration. By sticking to this time limit, the team is encouraged to make decisions efficiently and focus on what's important. Time boxing helps us maintain momentum and ensures that we will respect everyone's time. Next, let's look at transparency. One of the core values of Scrum is keeping the work visible to everyone involved. This means that everyone on the team and the stakeholders should have a clear understanding of what's happening at any given time. In Scrum, we use tools like sprint backlog, product backlog, and burn down charts to maintain transparency. The idea is that no work is hidden, everything is out in the open, so everyone knows where the team stands and what still needs to be done. Transparency builds trust, improves collaboration, and helps the team stay aligned on the goals. When everyone is on the same page, we can make better decisions and course correct if needed. Finally, let's talk about continuous improvement. Scrum is all about inspecting and adapting, not just product, but the process itself. At the end of every sprint, the team reflects on what went well, what didn't, and how they can improve during the sprint retrospective. This practice of continuously seeking ways to improve ensures that the team is always evolving and getting better with each sprint. Whether it's improving collaboration, finding ways to deliver value faster, or removing inefficiencies, continuous improvement is about making small, incremental changes that add up over time. By inspecting and adapting regularly, the team becomes more efficient and can deliver a better product. So to recap, time boxing. Limit the duration of events to ensure focus and efficiency. Transparency. Keep the work visible to everyone involved, ensuring trust and alignment. Continuous improvement. Continuously inspect and adapt both the product and the process to drive growth and better outcomes. These three concepts, time boxing, transparency, and continuous improvement, are the foundation of Scrum and enable teams to deliver high-value products while constantly improving how they work. In this video, we covered the key events for Scrum. Let's recap what we've learned. Sprint planning. The purpose of sprint planning is simple: to define what the team can accomplish during the upcoming sprint and how they will achieve it. By the end of the sprint planning meeting, the team should have a sprint goal, a clear objective for what they want to deliver, and a plan for how they'll get there. The daily Scrum. The purpose of the daily Scrum is simple: to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the plan as needed. Every day, the Scrum team gathers to quickly assess where they stand and to make sure everyone is aligned for what needs to happen next. It's a short meeting, but it packs a punch in terms of keeping the team moving forward. The sprint review. The purpose of the sprint review is to inspect product increment that was built during the sprint and gather feedback from stakeholders. This is the team's chance to demonstrate the work they've completed and see how it aligns with customer and business expectations. More importantly, it's an opportunity for stakeholders to provide feedback, which helps the team adjust their direction as needed. The sprint retrospective. The purpose of the sprint retrospective is to reflect on the team's process and identify improvements. This event happens at the end of each sprint, right after the sprint review, and it's the team's chance to look back at how they worked together during the sprint. Not just what they built, but how they built it. The goal is to find ways to improve and continuously get better as a team. We also covered three key concepts that are central to how Scrum teams operate. Time boxing, which is limiting the duration of events to ensure focus and efficiency. Transparency, which is keeping the work visible to everyone involved, ensuring trust and alignment. Continuous improvement, which means continuously inspecting and adapting both the product and the process to drive growth for better outcomes. And that's it. Understanding these events and concepts is crucial to running effective Scrum events. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share this content. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing for more technology content just like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below about your biggest takeaway or let me know what topic you'd like to see next. I would love to hear from you. If you'd like to support this channel, feel free to check out my Buy Me a Coffee link where you can help me keep making great content for you.